A violent daylight robbery. Police in York are looking for 3 suspects tonight. We'll take you live to Thornhill for an update in moments.
And police are investigating after a person was found dead at a home in Brampton. Homicide detectives have been notified.
And a food bank asks for help to keep up with what it is describing as unprecedented demand just ahead of Thanksgiving. We'll tell you more.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Ladifat. Thank you for joining us here on Live at 5. Our top story tonight. Police in York Region, they're searching for 3 suspects following a violent robbery in Thornhill.
They say that on Tuesday evening around 5 o'clock, the victim was driving through a plaza in the Young and Meadowview Avenue area near Steeles when his vehicle was boxed in by 2 other vehicles. The suspects got out, assaulted him, then they stole a suitcase containing a quantity of cash. The victim suffered minor injuries.
I think they are watching me. They are watching at that place and found me to take the suitcase with the money. I start fight with them to stop them, no, but I can't because there are 4 people. Tried to go back, reverse back, but they closed me at the back as well. And the problem is the car went to the safety mode and the gear is not working.
So that is what the robbery victim is saying. For more on what investigators are saying, let's bring in CP24's Beatrice Faisman, who's in Thornhill for us tonight. Beatrice.
Lena, and let's bring in Detective Sergeant with York Regional Police, Staff Sergeant Ryan Boulay. Staff, thanks so much for being here. Let's start with the actual investigation. The victim telling our colleagues over at CTV News he's out about $110,000. Where's your team at in figuring out who's responsible for it?
Hi, Beatrice. Well, thanks for having me. Yes, we are still early on in the investigation. As you mentioned, this did just happen on Tuesday evening, just after 5 p.m. in the area of Young, north of Steeles. We are looking into the backgrounds on those 2 vehicles that you've seen boxed in our victim's vehicle. We do know that the Lexus SUV was stolen. Where we are today, we're still looking into the background of that white Mercedes sedan that you see at the bottom of your screen there, boxing in the back of the victim's vehicle.
So 48 hours ago, 5 p.m. on Tuesday, it would have been daylight just like this. Our viewers, I'm sure, can see lots of vehicles driving behind me, pedestrians, cyclists, 2 vehicles used as weapons to box in this robbery victim. I mean, you're in charge of the holdup squad, Staff. What do you make of I guess, the brazenness of this robbery?
Yeah, it certainly seems like it was taken up a level here. Like you said, middle of the afternoon, broad daylight. There's traffic and pedestrians everywhere. It's not something that we normally see. The incident certainly seemed like there was an element of planning behind it. You know, the suspects showed up in 2 vehicles. They certainly knew what they intended to do when they were boxing that victim in, and they also appeared to know exactly what they were after. We are appealing for any other witnesses that may be out there that may have seen this occurring and or seen the vehicles fleeing the scene. We also like to remind people, if you do see something like this happening in progress, please pick up your phone and call 911 immediately.
Detective Sergeant, you suggest that there was some element of planning. The victim suggesting to us he thinks he was being watched. Is it your belief or your working theory at this point that this is people involved in organized crime, or are these just criminals who knew how to stake out their prey, knew what they were watching for, and then knew how to get the job done, so to speak?
I mean, at this point, we're not ruling anything out. We're still looking into the background of everything as it stands. But looking at it as a whole, it certainly seemed like the suspects knew exactly what they were after and who they were after, given what we see in video surveillance here.
Again, the victim telling us it was $100,000. Police have not released that information. But when you're dealing with $100,000 in cash, Staff, how difficult is it, if possible at all, for your investigators to recover some or any of it?
I mean, obviously, time certainly isn't on our side when there's that much cash that's potentially outstanding. We do encourage people that if you are in the business of transporting any types of goods or valuables that have a high value, you know, consider hiring a professional courier company that specializes in these types of deliveries. If you can't go down that road, consider changing your routine and your habits and not making your routine predictable to anyone that may be looking for this type of product.
Yeah, it certainly seems like this gentleman was an easy target for these suspects. When it comes to weapons, staff, were any weapons brandished or used in this robbery?
At this point, the investigation is still ongoing. I'm not going to comment any weapons that were used. I can tell you that we don't believe that any firearms were used during this incident.
Okay, Detective Sergeant Ryan Boulay from York Police, thanks so much for your time this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
And so Lena Bakari, obviously the victim of this violent, targeted robbery, is reeling. He says this is his livelihood. He's beside himself that he's lost this much cash. And when he was asked specifically the question that the detective sergeant talked about in terms of using one of these courier companies or armored vehicles to transfer this sum of cash, he simply says they can't afford it. Costs about $400. They don't know when these kind of transfers are going to happen, and it's extraordinarily difficult to plan. So police appealing for anyone who knows anything to come forward. Back to you.
How brazen. That video is shocking. Beatrice, thanks so much for this. Well, Peel police say their homicide unit has taken over the investigation into the death of a man at a home in Brampton.
Officers responded to a medical assist call. This is at a home on Lord Simcoe Drive near Dixie Road and Howden Boulevard. This was just before 6 o'clock last evening. A 65-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene. Another man was taken into custody, but has since been released. So police say at this point, they are treating the death as suspicious.
What I can tell you that there was an individual who was placed in custody but has been released unconditionally because there is insufficient evidence to hold this individual at this time. We do not have any other suspect information at this time. However, our homicide bureau, they are canvassing the area to gather any evidence. And as this investigation continues, our investigators will execute a warrant on this residence for any other evidence supporting this investigation.
Well, at least 3 dogs were removed from the home last night. Neighbors tell CP24 a son lived in the home with his father.
No, we just happened to see all the lights on. We looked out and we saw them take the one person out in handcuffs. And then instead of putting them into a police car, they put them into the ambulance.
It's worrisome, and there's been problems at the house before. Not that I can give you specifics, but there's just been trouble in the neighborhood with that home before with other people.
I've lived here pretty much all my life in Bramley, and society's changed. Total.
Well, it's scary because we don't know what's happening.
Very scary. Very scary. You just don't think something like that could happen in your neighborhood. You know, I keep my doors locked tight, and I don't usually look out the front window before I open the door. Mm-hmm. You know, because you never know who's outside.
Okay, and all of this, the coroner still needs to determine the cause of death.
Well, 3 police officers have been injured in 2 incidents in Etobicoke this afternoon. In one incident, 2 officers were injured during a foot pursuit during the noon hour. It happened near Silverstone Drive and Albion Road when officers attempted to stop a vehicle with stolen license plates. Police say 2 suspects fled on foot, and the officers suffered minor injuries while chasing them. A male and female were taken into custody. And another officer was injured in the same North York neighborhood a short time earlier. This was near Silverstone and Finch and involved police trying to stop a stolen car, which then rammed a police cruiser. An officer suffered minor injuries. The suspect fled in the stolen vehicle. And at this point, officers are treating the incidents as 2 separate occurrences.
Well, an Oakville doctor who previously faced sexual assault allegations has been charged again. So 64-year-old Dr. Clarence Clotty is accused of sexually assaulting a woman at Bristol Family Physicians. He was previously charged with sexual assault in 2019 and an alleged incident in 2014. Well, the College of Physicians and Surgeons has previously investigated allegations relating to 7 other patients. The college placed restrictions on his practice in 2017, including that he not perform breast, pelvic, or rectal exams on female patients.
Well, former Headley frontman Jacob Hogarth is dropping his bid to appeal his sex assault conviction before Canada's highest court. Hogarth discontinued his application for leave to appeal to the Supreme Court last Friday. That was the same day he was found not guilty of sexual assault in a separate case in northeastern Ontario. In 2022, a Toronto jury found Hogarth guilty of sexually assaulting an Ottawa woman. He began serving a 5-year sentence after the Ontario Court of Appeal upheld his conviction in August.
Right now it's 5:10, 14 degrees. Let's get a check on the commute with CP24 traffic specialist Adjua Nteyaboa. Adj.
Oh, good afternoon, good Bakari. It has been quite the busy afternoon, and a lot of problems have cleared, though. Still watching one pesky one that is not leaving us. This is on the eastbound lanes of the 401, happening in the Express just as you make your way past Dixie. It looks like now they're all off to the shoulder, so you know what, a bit of good news. Was the right lane and shoulder that remained blocked, but looks like MTO is managing to get them over to the side. Still looking at major delays, though, as you make your way more so in the collectors from well before the 410. Headed towards the Don Valley Parkway, no issues anymore, but busiest approaching Bayview, Bloor up to the 401. And if your travel take you on the Gardner, shades are a necessity. Really, really slow and sunny as you make your way out of and actually make your way into the downtown core. On city streets in Etobicoke, just a heads up, crews on scene of a collision on Finch and Kipling.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Adjua, thanks so much. It's 5:11, 14 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And it's day 2 of Toronto City Council's monthly meeting. Councillors are debating changes to the city's vacant home tax program. We're going to take you live to City Hall. That's next.
Dashing of teeth. People prefer tonight.
Well, just before the break, we gave you a live shot of Mayor Olivia Chow. It is day 2 of Toronto City Council's monthly meeting, and councillors, they're debating the city's vacant home tax program today.
And for more, let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya, who's at City Hall. Lindsay.
Yeah, that debate very much ongoing, Lena and Bakari, looking at ways to maybe do the vacant home tax better in the future, because obviously there was a few issues with it earlier this year. We heard from Councillor Brad Bradford, who put a motion forward to actually pause the vacant home tax for 2025. He says the onus is on those who live in the homes to report that they're vacant. He doesn't believe that should be the case, and he wants city staff to report back on an alternative program that puts the onus on City Hall or homeowners instead to declare vacancy rather than declarations from all. So we did just speak with Councillor Brad Bradford after he put that motion forward, but we also spoke with him earlier on this, and here's what he had to say.
Vacant home tax is going to be in front of us, and again, it just seems like the default position from this administration here at City Hall is to always tax more people. When we're talking about housing, let's remember that 25% of the fees and charges on a new unit of housing are taxes. You pay the development charges, you pay the double land transfer tax, you pay your annual taxes. So we are really big on taxing housing with this administration here in the City of Toronto, and rather than fixing a program that was deeply flawed, where the reverse onus was on the homeowner to tell us that you, in fact, live in the house that you already live in. Rather than fixing that, the mayor just increased the tax from 1% to 3%. So I can't support it as it is today.
So we heard from Councillor Alejandra Bravo as well, saying that she respectfully disagrees. She says those who are not occupying their homes are part of the problem when it comes to this housing crisis. That's obviously what the vacant home tax is here to try to address, is the housing crisis in this city. We've heard a couple of different motions today, including Councillor Stephen Holiday, who moved to a motion to cancel the vacant home tax altogether, and Mayor Olivia Chow responding, saying that that cannot be done when we are in a housing crisis in this city. So right now we're hearing from Councillor Shelley Carroll. These debates on the vacant home tax continue. Obviously, this is not the only thing that has been debated and discussed today, Lena and Bakari, but it is what is happening right now. So we'll check in with you later and let you know how this is going. But for now, back to you.
Okay, live at City Hall, CP24's Lindsay Biscaya. Thank you very much. Well, earlier this morning, Mayor Olivia Chow sat down with CP24 breakfast.
Yeah, and she tried to explain why she failed to attend a vigil marking the first anniversary of Hamas's terror attack on Israel.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. On Monday, I wore black. It's very much on like the entire day, even most of the weekend, because mourning the loss of lives was top of my mind. And but as you see on the council agenda, we have an incredibly busy week. I just count on my staff to tell me where I'm going. And by late evening, when I finished it, I thought, this is it. And so then I may not have made it anyway, but neither here nor there. I regretted not being able to be there.
Tens of thousands of people gathered in North York on Monday to remember the 1,200 people killed in the October 7th attack, including 7 Canadians as well as those taken hostage. The mayor previously said she didn't receive the email inviting her to the event.
It's 5:16, 14 degrees. This is Live at 5.
A Toronto food bank is making an urgent appeal for donations ahead of Thanksgiving. We're live with those details and the ask.
A food bank in the city is asking for help from the public to keep up with what it is calling an unprecedented demand as we head into the Thanksgiving long weekend.
Yeah, let's go live to CP24's Sija Liu in North York. This comes as so many families are experiencing food insecurity ahead of Thanksgiving. Sija.
That's right, and the numbers are quite staggering. According to the food bank, 1 in 10 Torontonians are relying on food banks right now, especially as we head into the Thanksgiving season. Here to talk more about how you can help and some of the issues that they're dealing with is Ryan Noble, Executive Director here at the food bank. And Ryan, we're hearing these numbers. It's a huge problem right now. How do you even begin to tackle the issue?
Well, as you said, 1 in 10 Torontonians needed to turn to a food bank for assistance last year, and that's just a staggering number, and one that, frankly, the food bank network can't continue to support. So we know we need to do things differently as a city, and we know we need to do things differently as an organization. So we bring a lot of innovation and hard work and entrepreneurship and look at how we do things. And so one example of how we do things, I think, a little bit differently than others is our commitment to what we call long-term solutions, so addressing food insecurity right at its root. One of the ways we do that is obviously we have a warehouse here where we distribute millions of pounds of food every year, and we know that that also can be a learning platform for people to secure full-time employment in the warehouse and logistics sector. So we've started what we call our leadership and logistics program, which is a 4-week paid internship so that people who are coming to our food space because they lack employment can get the skills and experiences and certifications in things like operating a forklift and working in warehousing and distribution. And we're really proud to, just last week, announced a partnership with Canadian Tire, where the graduates of our program are offered full-time employment with career paths, decent wages, and benefits, which really can be a life-changing opportunity. And we know it's those types of innovations are really the only way that we're going to address food insecurity at its root and start to see the numbers of people that are turning to our doors for assistance start to go down.
Yeah, that's wonderful. This new program that you have where people can come, learn these tools, and ultimately get full-time employment. What has the reception been like so far when it comes to addressing the issue at its core with food insecurity?
As I said, we've seen this as a life-changing opportunity for a small number of people relative to the total number of people that are coming to a food bank. But for those people that this type of program is appropriate for, it can provide, as I said, career paths, good-paying jobs, and benefits, which is what people need in order to have a truly sustainable livelihood, which is ultimately the solution to poverty and food insecurity.
That's amazing. Thanks so much, Ryan. We appreciate your time today. And like you heard, the food bank, a very busy time for them, but they always are in need of donations and, of course, are taking an all-around approach also when it comes to employment as well. Back to you guys.
All right, Sija Liu, thanks so much for this. And more Canadians are concerned about the cost of food with Thanksgiving just around the corner. The director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University says families can pull off a full Thanksgiving dinner for 4 people for between $32 and $45, working out to about $8 to $11 per person. Sylvain Charlebois says that there are more bargains being offered this year compared to last year, but you may have to shop around, especially if you're buying a turkey.
99 cents a pound. We haven't seen that since before COVID. So right now, this weekend, you can get turkey for 99 cents a pound. So those prices that's loss leading territory. So it means that grocers want you in their stores. They're using turkey as bait, essentially. So you can buy other things that are a little bit more expensive, like cranberries, potatoes. Charlebois says you'll pay more for other items, including dairy products and bread rolls.
Right now it's 5:23, 14 degrees. This is Live at 5.
One of the members of the Raptors 2019 championship team is retiring. We're going to tell you more coming up.
One of the members of the Raptors 2019 championship team is retiring. Danny Green played parts of 15 seasons for 6 different teams. He's just one of 4 NBA players in history to win a title with 3 different teams. So Green was traded to the Raptors with Kawhi Leonard. This is ahead of the 2018-2019 season. Green averaged 10 points per game and made 45% of his three-pointers in his one season in Toronto. He started all 24 playoff games during the team's run to the championship.
And Raptor star Scotty Barnes is expected to make his preseason debut tomorrow. The club has confirmed Barnes will return to the lineup when Toronto takes on the Washington Wizards. It'll be his first game in more than 7 months. Barnes was limited to just 60 games last season after breaking his hand in March, and he missed the Raptors' first preseason contest on Sunday for personal reasons. The 23-year-old enters the 2024-25 campaign after signing a 5-year, $225 million contract extension.
All right, one of the greatest tennis players of all time has announced that he's retiring.
Hola a todos, estoy aquí para comunicaros que me retiro del tenis profesional.
In a video message this morning on social media, Rafael Nadal, Rafa, says that he's stepping away from the game in November after a final appearance for Spain at November's Davis Cup finals in Malaga. The 38-year-old is a 22-time Grand Slam champion, including a record 14 French Open titles. He won a total of 92 ATP-level singles titles and an Olympic gold medal in 2008. His 81 consecutive wins on clay are the longest single-surface win streak in the Open era. I never got a chance to see him.
Yeah, that's what a career. Well, staying on the tennis court, for the first time in the tennis tournament's history, there will be no line judges in uniform making calls from the sidelines at Wimbledon. Instead, the job will go to AI. Wimbledon has already been testing it out, and the same technology has been adopted by the Australia and U.S. Opens.
It's 5:27, 14 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Police are searching for 3 suspects tonight after a brazen daylight robbery near Yonge and Steeles. There is video. We'll tell you everything, and we'll hear from the victim next.
A violent daylight robbery. So police in York, they're looking for 3 suspects. We're going to take you live to Thornhill in moments.
Well, police are investigating after a person was found dead at a home in Brampton, and homicide detectives have now been notified.
And a food bank asks for help to keep up with what it is describing as unprecedented demand ahead of Thanksgiving.
You're watching Live at 5. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
And I'm Bakari Savage. Police in York Region are searching for 3 suspects following a violent robbery in Thornhill.
They say on Tuesday around 5 p.m., the victim was driving through a plaza in the Yonge and Meadowview Avenue area near Steeles when his vehicle was boxed in by 2 other vehicles. The suspects exited, assaulted him, and stole a suitcase containing a quantity of cash. The victim suffered minor injuries. He also spoke to CTV News Toronto today.
I think they are watching me. They are watching at that place and found me to take the suitcase with the money. I start fight with them to stop them, no, but I can't because there are 4 people. Tried to go back, reverse back, but they closed me at the back as well. And the problem is the car went to the safety mode and the gear is not working.
It's not something that we normally see. The incident certainly seemed like there was an element of planning behind it. You know, the suspects showed up in 2 vehicles. They certainly knew what they intended to do when they were boxing that victim in, and they also appeared to know exactly what they were after. We are appealing for any other witnesses that may be out there that may have seen this occurring and or seen the vehicles fleeing the scene. We also like to remind people, if you do see something like this happening in progress, please pick up your phone and call 911 immediately.
The first suspect vehicle is a white Lexus SUV with license plate number DCDL270. It was reported stolen in Toronto. The second is a white Mercedes four-door sedan with license plate number CKDY286, which is not registered to the vehicle. York police say the three male suspects were wearing dark clothing and spoke with a Middle Eastern accent. Investigators say this was a targeted incident, and they're asking anybody with information to come forward.
And a man's died following an industrial accident in Mississauga. Emergency crews were called to the area of Dundas Street and Wharton Way. This was shortly before 4 o'clock this afternoon. One individual was rushed to hospital. That's where he later died. The details surrounding the incident, they're not clear. The Ministry of Labor has been notified.
Peel police say their homicide unit has taken over the investigation into the death of a man at a home in Brampton. Officers responded to a medical assist call at a home on Lord Simcoe Drive near Dixie Road and Howden Boulevard before 6 o'clock last night. A 65-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene. Another man was taken into custody but has since been released. Police say at this point they're treating the death as suspicious.
Well, we are waiting on some details, but what I can tell you right now, because we are treating it as a suspicious death, and the circumstances with respect to the death of the victim, they are a part of investigation, which is why we are just gathering all the evidence, all the details at this point, and also we will be executing a warrant. So pending new information, this is all I have for now.
At least 3 dogs were removed from the home last night. Neighbors tell CP24 a son lived in the home with his father.
Very scary. Very scary. You just don't think something like that could happen in your neighborhood. You know, I keep my doors locked tight, and I don't usually look out the front window before I open the door, you know, because you never know who's outside.
Oh, we just happened to see all the lights on. We looked out and we saw them take the one person out in handcuffs, and then instead of putting them into a police car, they put them into the ambulance.
It's worrisome, and there's been problems at the house before. Not that I can give you specifics, but there's just been trouble in the neighborhood with that home before with other people.
I've lived here pretty much all my life in Brampton, and you know, society's changed. Total.
Well, it's scary because we don't know what's happening.
The coroner still needs to determine the cause of death.
Right now it's 5:34, 14 degrees. This is Live at 5.
It is day 2 of Toronto City Council's monthly meeting, and councillors are debating changes to the city's vacant home tax program. That's a live shot of Councillor Stephen Holiday. We'll be right back. Welcome back. 3 police officers have been injured in 2 incidents in Etobicoke this afternoon.
Okay, so in one incident, 2 officers were injured during a foot pursuit. This happened over the noon hour. This was near Silverstone Drive and Albion Road when officers attempted to stop a vehicle with stolen license plates. Well, police say that 2 suspects ran away. The officers suffered minor injuries while chasing them. A male and female were taken into custody.
And another officer was injured in the same North Etobicoke neighborhood. There we go, a short time earlier. This was near Silverstone and Finch and involved police trying to stop a stolen car, which then rammed a police cruiser. An officer suffered minor injuries. The suspect fled in the stolen vehicle. At this point, they are treating the 2 incidents as separate occurrences.
And an Oakville doctor who previously faced sexual assault allegations has been charged again.
Yeah, 64-year-old Dr. Clarence Claudy is accused of sexually assaulting a woman at Bristol Family Physicians. He was previously charged with sex assault in 2019 in an alleged incident in 2014. The College of Physicians and Surgeons has previously investigated allegations relating to 7 other patients. The college placed restrictions on his practice in 2017, including that he not perform breast, pelvic, or rectal exams on female patients.
And former Headley frontman Jacob Hogarth is dropping his bid to appeal a sexual assault conviction before Canada's highest court. So Hogarth discontinued his application for leave to appeal to the Supreme Court last Friday. That was the same day he was found not guilty of sexual assault in a separate case in northeastern Ontario. In 2022, A Toronto jury found Hogarth guilty of sexually assaulting an Ottawa woman. He began serving a 5-year sentence after the Ontario Court of Appeal upheld his conviction in August.
Well, Councillor Michael Thompson's sex assault trial continued in Bracebridge today. He arrived at the courthouse this morning. Thompson is accused of sexually assaulting 2 women at a Muskoka cottage in the summer of 2022. On Monday, the Crown alleged he arranged the getaway for several women at a networking event, but urged them to drink heavily and take off their clothes before sexually assaulting them. 64-year-old Thompson has pleaded not guilty to the 2 counts of sexual assault.
It's 5:39, 14 degrees. Let's get a check on the roads with Adjoa and Cia Bra, CP24's traffic specialist. Adj?
Hey, Bakari. Yeah, it continues to be quite the slow go out there on the major routes. And now problems I thought were off to the side are back in the right lane. So this is the eastbound 401 in the collectors east of Dixie. Crews remain on scene of this collision. You will still find that right lane and shoulder block. Just one vehicle remains. Hopefully they can clear that shortly for you. Then a brand new problem on the 401 eastbound. This is in the collector lanes just past the Allen. It's a stalled vehicle has that center lane blocked, and even more problems eastbound on the 401. My cameras went out. Eastbound 401 in the collectors through Brock Road and Pickering. Crews on scene of a collision that does have the 2 right lanes occupied. So a busy afternoon. I'll send it back to the both of you.
Adjoa, thanks so much. Well, it is day 2 of Toronto City Council's monthly meeting, and councillors, they're debating the city's vacant home tax program today.
Okay, CP24's Lindsay Biscaya is live at City Hall and continues our coverage. Lindsay.
Yeah, that's right. The votes on that have actually carried at this point. City Council has moved on to electric vehicle charging stations, both public and private. But the vacant home tax was obviously a very big discussion here today at Toronto City Council. This is a live shot of the meeting in progress right now. So it looks like Toronto's vacant home tax will continue. It is new and improved, hopefully, including improved declarations. And that process is set to begin on November 1st. So that's really the big thing to come out of this, because there was some motions put forward to both cancel the vacant home tax altogether and postpone it for a year. Both of those motions failed, so it looks like this will continue, with many councillors, including the mayor, saying that this is really important when it comes to solving the housing crisis in Toronto. And we heard from councillors today talking about the vacant home tax. Here's more.
Vacant home tax is going to be in front of us, and again, it just seems like the default position from this administration here at City Hall is to always tax more people. When we're talking about housing, let's remember that 25% of the fees and charges on a new unit of housing are taxes. You pay the development charges, you pay the double land transfer tax, you pay your annual taxes. So we are really big on taxing housing with this administration here in the City of Toronto, and rather than fixing a program that was deeply flawed, where the reverse onus was on the homeowner to tell us that you, in fact, live in the house that you already live in. Rather than fixing that, the mayor just increased the tax from 1% to 3%. So I can't support it as it is today.
So obviously a lot of conversations about the vacant home tax. Also, the traffic congestion management plan in Toronto was discussed at large today at City Hall. And earlier this morning, also the school nutrition programs were also discussed, with Mayor Olivia Chow requesting a report on implementing a universal school food program in Toronto. That carried. So some things getting done here today, Lena and Bakari. A lot of motions passed, but once again, this continues tonight, and a lot of discussions still to be had. Back to you.
Lindsay Biscaya live at City Hall for us tonight. Thanks so much, Lindsay. Well, Mayor Olivia Chow, she sat down with CP24 this morning.
Yeah, Mayor Chow was here to explain why she failed to attend a vigil marking the first anniversary of Hamas's terror attack on Israel.
I apologize to the Jewish community, and we'll do better. I was there last year, immediately after Hamas killed so many innocent lives, and I was there because I care about the community and want to mourn with them about the loss of lives. So last year was there. This year, whatever the reason, miscommunication, it is not an excuse. So moving forward, let us have better communication, and yes, I should have been there.
Well, tens of thousands of people gathered in North York. This was Monday to remember the 1,200 people killed in the October 7th attack, including 7 Canadians, as well as those taken hostage. And the mayor previously said that she did not receive the email inviting her to the event.
Well, a food bank in the city is asking for help from the public tonight to keep up with what it is describing as unprecedented demand as we head into this Thanksgiving long weekend.
Let's go live to CP24. CJ Liu, who's in North York. CJ.
That's right. There is a desperate need for donations here at the North York Harvest Food Bank. Some of the items most in need are out of stock, including cooking oils, canned beans and lentils, diapers, that is adult and children diapers. They are completely out and are in desperate need of those donations. The reality is there is a good chance that one of your neighbors, co-workers, friends are turning to food banks. According to the food bank here, 1 in 10 Torontonians are turning to the food bank. This is a record number for the North York Harvest Food Bank here, especially back in July. There was that huge flooding here in Toronto. They said they lost about $30,000 worth of food. Their refrigerator was broken, and that is something they are still struggling to repair. And they say the fastest group of people they are seeing in need of food banks are first-time users. Many people have jobs and pensions. These are things that used to keep people out of poverty. However, it is no longer working. This food bank also serves about 30,000 people every single month. They run 4 community food spaces, and they support about 200 other community organizations such as seniors, breakfast programs. So the need is really, really huge right now, especially as we head into the Thanksgiving holiday season. We'll let you hear more from Ryan Noble, who is the executive director here, on some of the challenges they're facing.
We are a community-based organization to what is ultimately a broad systemic issue. So we rely on the support of the community to do the work that we do. We're not a government organization, and we don't receive any government funding. So if people are able to make a donation of food, we always need things that are sort of universal and shelf stable. So things like canned seafood, canned meat, canned tomatoes, beans, lentils, rice. Cooking oil is another one that's very expensive that everybody needs to use and that people don't always think of. And also, if people are in a position to make a financial donation, we're able to use that money to stretch those dollars further.
And you can drop off those donations right here at the food bank, or you can drop them off at any fire hall north of Toronto, that is north of St. Clair. And of course, as you heard, you can also give financially. The food bank can really stretch that dollar out a lot further with some of the deals they get through bulk ordering. Back to you guys.
Okay, CP24, CJ Liu, live in North York. Thank you. Well, Air Canada pilots have ratified a new contract with the airline.
The pilots union says 67% of members who cast ballots voted in favor of this deal. It includes a cumulative 42% wage hike over 4 years. The Airline Pilots Association says the deal is the largest labor agreement in Air Canada's history. It goes into effect immediately, and it'll expire at the end of September in 2027.
A new report says that Canada's housing market is in recovery mode, but it's still sluggish.
The aggregate price of a home rose 1.6% year over year to roughly $815,000 in the third quarter. That's according to Royal LePage. 38% of regional markets recorded positive aggregate price gains in that quarter over the previous one. The report says volumes began to pick up in September, but buyer demand remains weak nationally despite the Bank of Canada's interest rate cuts.
People who have homes and need different housing are saying, you know, come on, someone come buy my home. I want to move on to another one. So, yeah, if you're an existing home buyer, it's not really impacting you so much today. It's those first-time home buyers, the investors, small landlords that are really having the dilemma as to when they leap.
Royal LePage says that it does expect new lending rules that'll be coming into effect will help ease affordability concerns as well as unlock opportunities for home buyers.
It is now 5:48, 14 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, we're going to take a look at the damage Hurricane Milton has left behind in Florida. Here's a live look.
Well, many parts of Florida are recovering from the damage caused by Hurricane Milton tonight.
So Milton first made landfall. This was along the Gulf Coast Wednesday. It was a Category 3 storm. The storm brought heavy rain and winds of over 200 kilometers per hour, triggering flooding across a large section of the state. At least 5 people were killed in the storm. And President Joe Biden lashed out at the disinformation being spread about hurricane relief efforts. This is after some frontline workers have been threatened.
To all the people impacted by Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, despite the misinformation and lies, the truth is we're providing the resources needed to rescue, recover, and rebuild. And rebuild. Let me close with this. I know recovery and rebuilding projects can take a long and difficult time. But as long after the press and the cameras move on, I promise you, you have to pick up the pieces still. I want you to know we'll do everything in our power to help you put pieces back together and get all that you need.
And Pentagon spokesperson Major General Pat Ryder spoke on the resources being deployed to help in the recovery efforts following Hurricane Milton.
As of this morning, the Florida National Guard has activated more than 6,500 guardsmen and mobilized 500 plus high water vehicles, 26 helicopters, and more than a dozen watercraft from a dozen states for the response and recovery mission following Hurricane Milton. In addition, another 3,000 National Guardsmen from 19 states are also ready to support. Also, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has approximately 250 people supporting the response with temporary roof support, debris control, flood control, waterway clearance, and more.
And the NHL has postponed the October 12th matchup between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Carolina Hurricanes due to Hurricane Milton. And the league says a makeup date hasn't been chosen yet.
It is 5:53 now, 14 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
It's World Mental Health Day. We're going to take a look at a new report on youth mental health. That's next. Well, to mark World Mental Health Day, Bell Let's Talk and Mental Health Research Canada released a new report. It's on youth mental health.
Yeah, it finds that suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people, accounting for 21% of deaths in people aged 16 to 24. LGBTQ, Black, Indigenous, and newcomer youth have higher levels of poor mental health and face barriers to care. The report finds that up to 3/4 of mental health issues begin before the age of 24. And Mary Deacon is the chair of Bell Let's Talk, and she talked about the importance of today's report.
This report provides a clear and compelling case for better community mental health supports and services, and includes solutions and a call to action to address declining youth mental health.
As some of the young people who helped inform today's report, they took part in a panel discussion at today's event. They also shared some of their experiences.
Imagine, going to this busy, unknown city and you don't have a GPS. It's not going to turn out too well, right? You're not going to be able to get anywhere that you need to go. And this GPS is like this will to live, this hope, because your will to live and your hope is your compass. It's your GPS to this busy, unknown city called life. And when I lost that compass, when I lost that GPS, I was lost. And, for a lot of people, it's hard to understand this. Even going to therapy for myself, it's like, what's the problem? I don't know.
Unfortunately, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. It's sad because at the teenager period, we want to fit in the social group. You want a friend, you want to be perfect, you want to be on the top. You don't want to talk about your mental health because it's a shame, it's vulnerable, and you don't want. It's not good to talk about it because you don't fit in this social group.
Now, in light of the report, Bell announced that next year's Bell Let's Talk Day will prioritize youth mental health. It'll feature a text to donate campaign with 100% of the proceeds going to 6 providers.
Well, Canada Post is honoring a pair of TV stations that revolutionize how Canadians enjoy music, including one with a special connection to CP24.
Yeah, real special stamps honoring much music. Remember that? And Musique Plus were unveiled in the parking lot of our building on Queen Street today. It was once home to much music, of course. It was the country's first station dedicated to music videos and went to air just over 40 years ago. Musique Plus followed 2 years later in Montreal. The stamps are meant to depict the iconic buildings the stations operated out of and the cheering crowds that would gather outside.
telling the story of what Much Music meant to artists, creating that level playing field with the international artists, that they were stars in their own right, to the point where you could watch and not know that this is a Canadian artist. I had no idea about that. So it launched so many careers, and it still continues to be that exposure that the Canadian artists need.
And the stamps are available online as well as at postal outlets all across Canada.
Just iconic. It's 5:59, 14 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24. Thanks so much for watching.
CTV News at 6 is next.